Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I almost said good morning. It's actually midnight. I did a show last weekend after I had gone to the theater to see the last voyage of the Demeter. And I did that show kind of late. I did it kind of, I don't know, I think I did it around 11 o'clock or 11:30 or something. And I saw it, I had just seen it, and I drove home, went to it with a friend. We sat in the parking lot for about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and we kind of talked about it. That's always, a good thing, when you at least talk about a movie afterwards, or you think about it. And, I was really disappointed with that movie, more so with a couple of things that happened, but more so with the ending. There were some really good things about that movie, but it was pretty mixed. But at least, even if it's a, not a good movie or a movie that you really feel like you escape, into while you watch it, if you're at least talking about it and you're like thinking about it or whatnot, like that's good at least, I think, even if it's a movie that's not really great. And I think that says something, or it just says that, okay, it's got something going for it, or it has some kind of quality to it where you're thinking about it, and you're using some brain cells to maybe think about or ruminate with some of the things around that film. But I did that show pretty late, and then I used to do lots of shows on my Film Fanatic Facebook page, and I used to do them usually at night. Most of those shows were usually done at night. But for the most part, any of these videos that I do now are all usually in the morning, the morning time. But I don't know, I kind of liked changing it up a little bit, and it's always good to mix certain things up, changing locations and things like that. But anyway, it's enough. That's enough about that. I went to Blue Moose yesterday, which is again my favorite place, my home away from home. I went to the one in Bangor yesterday, and I usually go to the one in Waterville, but I've been changing things up a little bit, and I've gone there a couple of times, and I was really excited by some of my purchases and some of the things that I bought there, that I decided to go again. And I went this past Monday, and it was, the music selection was decent. It's always up and down. Usually their music section's better, but the movie selection's pretty awesome up there. And especially when it comes to, well, Bull Moose in general, but especially if you're a collector and a big fan of, low budget horror films, really obscure horror films, all the movies that would fit under the kind of the horror exploitation world, giallo films, just weird, bizarre, low budget films, independent films, European films. The Bull Moose has an amazing selection, and I finally picked up a movie I've been wanting for so long, and that is Lucio Fulci's Zombie from 1979. And I just finished watching it. I've never seen it on Blu-ray before, and god damn, this movie is so badass. I just love this movie. I've done lots of coverage of Lucio Fulci movies on this channel. I love, my favorite decades are the 70s and 80s for films. Again, my favorite is always the horror genre, especially in the exploitation world. And, and again, there's so many Italian directors. There's so many European directors, especially European directors that I've been coming across, that I've discovered for the first time, and even, and also directors that I really love. And I've been tracking down movies of theirs that I've never seen, that, and movies that I have seen, and I've been trying to beef up my collection. Lately I've been buying some. I have quite a few Lucio Fulci movies now, and lately I've been buying a pretty decent amount of a lot of Dario Argento movies. And I actually just bought a Dario Argento movie for a movie called Tenebrae, which I've never seen before, and I've heard it's super amazing, so I'm super excited to watch it. But anyway, I came across Zombie, and this was super cheap. It was only $20, used Blu-ray, special edition. The Ultimate Edition is actually what it's called. It's got a nice slipcase. And this was also put out by Blue Underground. Blue Underground is one of my favorite companies. It's really cool. It's got, great packaging, the original artwork, if you can see that. And then it's got 2 discs, which is so badass. I just started watching the second disc, and the second disc is about maybe a couple hours or a little less, but it's all special features. So that gave me an instant horror boner when I saw that. And that's the thing. Whenever I try to buy these movies, I'm always trying to find movies, for the most part, that give you more bang for the buck. Like where you get a lot of special features and those kinds of things. Because that's the way to go. If you're a fan and if you're an avid collector, but just watching this movie, I've seen this movie many, many times, but it's been a couple of years or so. It's been probably about 2 or 3 years since I've seen this. And I've only seen it on DVD. I've never seen it, I saw it a lot as a kid on VHS. I remember renting it all the time. This and House by the Cemetery. And, quite a few other of his films. But I've never seen this one on Blu-ray. And I was just like, man, this is why Lucio Fulci is my favorite kind of horror exploitation director. Definitely my favorite Italian director. I mean, just can't go wrong. Just incredible classics like The New York Ripper and The House by the Cemetery. City of the Dead, The Gates of Hell. I mean, just the list is endless of how many great. Demonia, which is another movie I need to watch again and do a show on. I've only actually watched that once since I bought it, but awesome movie. But Warriors of 2049 too, another awesome sci-fi movie that he did. But my God, this movie is so great, and the transfer of this on Blu-ray is just simply spectacular. And, the thing that about this, too, is that it came out in 1979. And I forgot, like, the practical effects in this movie are just so amazing, so jaw-dropping. Of course, Lucio Fulci's an Italian director, and he did a lot of movies working with his Italian crew. But he also, shot a lot of movies here in the U.S. Most of those films I mentioned were shot here in the U.S. And this is the exception. He used a lot of American actors. But the Italians, there's tons of Italians in this movie, and you see it all in the credits. But basically all of the folks that have worked with him, over the years, have been in or involved with every movie of his. But just so damn good. Ian McCullough is in this. There's some great actors too. Richard Johnson, Tisa Farrow, Octavia Caratis, Al Cliver, Oretta Gray. But and it's got the famous opening sequence with the zombie that these 2 New York City police officers discover, and he's on a boat, and it's so gruesome and just so, like, brutal. And, I have to honestly say, like, this came out in 79, and I never see horror movies like this anymore. Like, there's a lot of great ones that come out. Affinity Pool was one that came out this year, which I really loved, by Brandon Cronenberg, David Cronenberg's son. I mean, and again, that being said, it's like, he's a very different director. He's more cerebral and, very in step with his father, David Cronenberg. Pretty strange and bizarre. the whole body horror thing. But it's just something about how raw this movie is, and just how raw all of Lucio Fulci's movies are, and just so, like, they literally go for the jugular. And this actually has some really great acting. It's actually got a really great story, and I love that the pacing is great. It opens up. This movie opens up with such a bang and such an opening that it's just like so badass. And then you get this thread and of where this whole thing is kind of going, and then it kind of levels out for a while, and then it becomes, about these people who are trying to, problem solve, and with the police that were involved, especially in the beginning, and then the zombies that eventually make it to the U.S. are originally from on this island in this like remote area of the world, and it ties in themes with like voodoo and the supernatural and the occult, which is really cool. I kind of forgot about that. But there's a lot of good little characters. It's a cool little story, and I love the pacing. It's not, not every 5 seconds is going to be, coming at you all the time. But when the violence and the gore happens, it's so amazing. Like, the last half of this movie is so badass. It's got such a great ending. God, it's just such a masterpiece. And I was so psyched that I bought this, because I've never seen it on Blu-ray. I've been looking for this movie for quite a while. So I was really psyched that I finally found it. I'm slowly getting there, I think, with like completing my Lucio Fulci collection, because again, so many movies to his credit. I mean, there's like probably 70 to 80 movies. There's a few I haven't seen before. Probably more so in his earlier career, but I have seen most of them by this point, and I do have quite a few of them now on Blu-ray, which I'm really excited. I'm trying to complete like the essential Lucio Fulci. There hasn't been a Lucio Fulci movie that I've seen out of all of the movies he's done in his career, spanning from like 60s, 70s, and 80s. I mean, he made even before. Where he started off, he made quite a few giallo films in the beginning, and then eventually moved into, he made westerns. I mean, he's mostly known or looked at or regarded as like, an iconic horror director, which is, he rightfully deserves that kind of banner. But I think it's easy to forget too that Lucio Fulci's made, spaghetti westerns. He's made lots of giallo films, sci-fi movies, action movies, and he's done, the horror films he has done were just, changed the world as far as I'm concerned. But he's done lots of different genres, and there's like quite a few like of the earlier films, some of the giallo films, Girl in the Lizard Skin, super trippy movie. That's definitely a giallo film, but that's one of my favorites, and I have that on Blu-ray. But there's something about his horror films that are just like, they just get under your skin, and they're just so damn satisfying. Like, and I think arguably Dawn of the Dead is probably the best zombie movie ever made. George Romero directing it, and Tom Savini, who did all the effects. But after watching this now, and I'm fresh off of watching it, this might be the best zombie movie ever made. I mean, it's like next level, and especially the practical effects in this movie are just breathtaking. Like, they look so real, and it's unbelievable that everything that you see on the screen is just, purely from the genius mind of Lucio Fulci, just pure imagination, and not really having a huge budget. Like, it's just so amazing. So if you haven't ever seen this, which you should, Lucio Fulci Zombie, 1979. I'm so excited that I finally got this on Blu-ray, and especially this edition. It is one of the most badass movies ever made. So thanks again This is Jason Dean, and we will see you next time. Peace.